UMBC makes history in Charlotte. One time out, they don't take it. No, he didn't. Yes, in March Madness. Fade away. Take a three. The entire time came off that 1-5 high screen and roll. He'll launch it and he'll get it. For West Virginia just disappeared past the
Oh, does it get any better than March Madness? Does it get any better than Lawton Lutz and the pipe and drape and the Nike pullover and the silly Spartans? Lawton, you look great. It's great to have you. We got our special March Madness Task Force special edition. We'll answer questions like, can Michigan State win a game in the tournament? Can Michigan win it all? Who are our bracket busters? And where did you get your pipe and drape set up? Obviously the thing behind you is called a drape. It's filled together with pipes. You are the maestro. And before I get into anything, first off, welcome in. Great to have everyone here on the Task Force Special Edition. If people want to look no further than the absolute maestro chef / boss of the kitchen / Lawton Lutz, go to my Twitter or Facebook, Dan Leach 971. And if you're my Facebook friend, you should feel special. And take a look at what Lawton did. So listen, all I had to do, this is a very easy thing. I just had to buy the food. And Lawton made it all: ribeyes, potato skins, broccoli, shrimp scampi, incredible kebabs, impossible burgers. It was, I would say, worth probably $400 the feast last night. I only had to spend like $100. So I got 4 times my money. You killed it. And the grill, I posted the picture of just the lit grill last night because it's grilling season, like wedding season. You are quite the chef.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, we had I went old school last time. We did charcoal grill. We fired up some ribeyes, and it was, it's been beautiful in Michigan this week, all in the 60s. And I think yesterday it actually hit 70, which is unseasonably warm for March for those that are Michiganders or Midwesterners. So, yeah, it was good. I appreciate it. I've learned a few things over the years of working in restaurants and having children. I've messed up a lot, but I've gotten to the point now where I can I make it look like I know what I'm doing. So thanks for the love.
Hey, you deserve it. Well, listen, let's get right into it. We're going to talk a little Michigan State. We'll kind of check in with where the Big Ten tournament's at right now. Fortunately, with the Spartans no longer part of it. So let's start there, my friend. And you've got this Michigan State team that we know obviously has had struggles at times this year. They got things going late in the year. They beat Michigan. Yes, the game didn't mean anything, but it was still an important game. I wanted to win that game. I'm not taking anything away from the Spartans, but this is a team that can't score. This is a team that does not have a tremendous amount of talent, and it got exposed today by a Maryland team that they're good, but they're not great, and you guys just could not shoot the rock today. Rocket Watts turned his Kevin Garnett / Michael Jordan, Oscar Robertson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar performance last time against Michigan. Today, the team, Malik Hall was the leading scorer. So when you look at Michigan State, Lawton, I just want to ask you, because you're always, I've said this before the show, I've said this many times, you are such a legitimate and fair Michigan State fan. The way I might troll, like we both all troll, but we're always fair about it. I give Michigan State tons of praise after the win over Michigan. You've given Michigan credit at times. You're very fair when it comes to this team. Are they going to win a game in the tournament, NCAA tournament, which they're one of the last 4 buys, according to my man Joe Lenardi, ESPN's bracketologist. They could still play an opening round game based on what happens in the next few days. Probably not, but they should be in the main draw as probably an 11th seed.
Well, defensively, they looked lethargic in the second half today. It didn't look like a Tom Izzo tournament team. You were almost wondering if they were really playing for anything at all. Or if they realized where they were at. I mean, just watching that game, anybody that has 2 eyes could realize that they just weren't in that game at all. And Maryland put it on them in the second half. Michigan State couldn't score. And like you said, Malik Hall was your leading scorer. it's nice to get that type of production out of a guy that doesn't score a lot, much like Rocket Watts did in the Michigan game. But Aaron Henry fell a little short too today. So Michigan State now can regroup. And do I think they can win a game in the tournament? I think so. It really depends on the seeding and the luck of the draw. I think Tom Izzo will definitely have them ready for tournament time. I just, today wasn't surprising. After coming off that loss against Maryland last week, watching that, I was like watching the same game. So nothing that happened. The only thing that was wacky today was the line on that game being, -1. It just didn't seem right to me. But kudos to Maryland. Give them credit. They came out and they got it done.
And it's crazy. You saw there with about 8 minutes left, Michigan State had 37 points. They actually outshot Maryland. I don't know how, but Michigan State was 42% from the field, Maryland 38%, and they still got waxed. This is the problem for me. And Lawton, I'll say this. Once again, you've always been a very fair Michigan State fan. I don't enjoy giving Michigan State credit, but what I do as a Michigan fan, I will always do it when it's fair. I look at it like this, and you just check my Twitter if people want to have a couple chuckles on either side of the rivalry, which I call the sickness, by the way. I think, and not you, obviously, and not people like me, but there are too many out there that are more concerned about the failure of my Wolverines than they are about the success of their Spartans. Now, Michigan State's got the great history, the 9 Final Fours, the national title a million years ago. They've had a great level of success. You and I kind of went against that, or went over this a lot off air. We were prepping for the show. If you go back 10 years, the Michigan Wolverines basketball program has been better than Michigan State. It's just the bottom line. The back-to-back Big Ten tournament championships, the regular season titles, the 2 final game appearances. If you go back 10 years, I think Michigan's been the better program. That being said, it doesn't mean you erase Michigan State's history. But I think that you should have seen the people on my Twitter after the Michigan win. And then today, when I guess in a small trolley type way, was like, where are all my Spartan friends that said they guaranteed me they were not only going to win the Big Ten tournament, but they were going to go to the Final Four and go further than Michigan because, Izzo. Listen, Izzo is not Gandhi. He's not, Socrates. He can't, turn something into nothing when there's a dearth of talent and a team that can't shoot. Izzo's an incredible coach, and he gives them a shot. And the fact that they're going to be in the tournament, if you would have told me this a month and a half ago, I said, no way. And that's a testament to Tom Izzo. But for these Spartan fans, some of them that think that Michigan State, because it's March and they're going to go on this run, Lawton, I want to just directly ask this to you because I'm going to tell you really quick my feeling. I don't think Michigan State's that good of a team. I'm not trying to troll the Spartans out there. I don't think they're that good, and I don't think they're going to win a game in the tournament. Maybe they will, but it's not like Michigan State's going to just turn this on like Kemba Walker and Uconn, that the year they won the title, at one point they were 8-8 in the Big East and just went on this huge run, and that 6 overtime game against Syracuse in the Big East tournament at MSG. That's not going to happen with this Michigan State team. They don't have the horses long.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, so I'll get to your first point. Do I think, I don't think anyone that is watching college basketball right now, other than wishful thinking fans, were thinking that Michigan State was going to win the Big Ten tournament. They're a hard team to figure out. That's literally what I've been saying the past month and a half. You don't know what team you're going to get. And a perfect example today, you got a team that can't beat Maryland. Maybe it's a matchup nightmare. I don't know. But that same team just beat Michigan, just beat Illinois, just beat Ohio State. I mean, you had a nice run of wins there. So they can take that and mold it into something. And, if they get a win or two in the tournament, I think that's a huge win to take away from this season. If you go to the tournament and you lose, I don't think anybody's going to be surprised. In addition, you mentioned a couple things from today's game about the field goal percentage. I think there were a couple of big discrepancies with the free throws. Michigan State's been known to get into foul trouble. I know some would say that the referees have been not so kind. I don't like to use that excuse at all.
Yeah, let's not go there. Thank you very much.
But I think the referees overall have been bad throughout. And we could take the Penn State Nebraska game last night. There were a ton of fouls called in that game that were questionable. I'm not right there on top of it, but I'm right there watching it on TV. So anyway, what I will say is Michigan State average team at this point, not really sure what you're going to get. Hard team to figure out. And stop using that last 10 years because, if you push that out 2 years, you're giving us 2 more Final Fours in a.
Sorry, I just do it by decades. That's
but I like how you did that. That's nice.
Squash just as decades. By the way, a couple things. One, Maryland only shot 10 more free throws. It's not like they shot 20 more.
Correct.
They shot 28. You guys shot 18. So it's not that big. But I'm with you. Refereeing this year, and you got to understand, there was no tournament last year. Everything got shut. By the way, today was the start of the day the sports world stood still. Rudy Gobert's fault. Not just him. I was at the game in LCA, which was, a couple days ago to the year when he was in LCA. But then this is the day, if you remember, that I think it was the Jazz, was it Jazz Thunder? Whatever that game was, when they canceled the game in the middle of the game. And this is the 48-hour period where literally everything shut down a year ago. To me, it feels like it was 5 years ago. Can you believe that was a year ago today?
It's incredible. And I saw that open with all the highlights with the people in the stands, and it was exciting. And I thought it's not going to get that packed this year. I'm really excited to see that they've announced in the state of Indiana they're going to allow a certain percentage of fans.
Yeah.
It's huge for the game. I just hope next year it gets back to normal where you got tons of fans and the energy's there. And it's going to be an interesting tournament, that's for sure.
Yeah, my friend Johnny B. Good, he's a big-time Michigan booster, and he goes to wherever they play, whether it's a Big Ten tournament or the NCAA tournament. He always goes to all the road games for Michigan football too. So he's there in Indy right now, the Big Ten tournament, and there's nobody there. They sold 8,000 seats. I mean, normally they sell like 100,000 seats for all the days or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it's at least there's some fans there. That'll add to it. It's going to be what it's been like for the last several months with 5,000, 8,000, 10,000 fans. Maybe for the title game at why am I blanking on the name of the stadium? Lucas Oil. Maybe they'll have, and for the Final Four, they'll have 20, 30,000 because that building, I think it holds 60 or 70. So there'll be fans, but it won't be, obviously, like you said, the normal March Madness. By the way, our good friend Matt Towers, sycophantic fantasy player, he was so obsessed with fantasy, he had to take a year off from our league, or else he might have lost his mind. He thinks the loss by Michigan, he's just trying to troll us. The loss by Michigan State ensures that they will be seeded low enough to avoid a top 10 team during but then they have to play a 1 seed in the second weekend, or the second round. I don't think it was a smart loss. I think Towers is being silly. I think that if you're Michigan State, you had to win that game, keep the momentum going, make sure listen, I think they're in, Lawton. I think it's an 80+% chance they're in. I'm going to throw up Lenardi's brackets right now. And not that Jerry Palm and others aren't good. I think there's no one better than Joe Lenardi. So let's just be honest with that. He's done it at a high level for a long time. He's got Michigan State as a last 4 bye, which if people don't know what that means they will not play in the opening round games, which you see on your screen right there, the first 4 as we call it, or opening round, whatever you want to call it now. And I think that loss today does not take them, because they were the top team on the last 4 bye line. Could they fall to a last 4 in and have to play a 12 game in the opening round? It's possible, but they're in the tournament. So this is where you look to what they could do. Let's say they are in 11 seed, and we're going to get to our bracket busters a little later on. In 11 seed, for example, would play a team like Oregon, would play a team like Oklahoma, would play a team like Colorado or Tennessee or USC or Texas Tech. I don't think Michigan State can beat any of them. I'm not saying they won't. I'm not saying that there's no chance that they're going to win a game or two, because listen, it's Izzo, it's Michigan State. They still got some talent, just not enough for me to feel good. But if I'm you, Lawton, and a Michigan State guy, I would not want to play an opening round game. That's for sure, because that's an extra game. But if you can stay on the 11 seed line, you could maybe catch a team that's not playing at a very top level. Colorado's kind of been up and down. I think, Oregon has got a chance to go really far in this tournament. So it looks like a lot of Pac-12 team possibilities in that 11-6 matchup. How would you feel about playing a team like that?
Well, we talked about this earlier. The Big Ten is arguably the toughest conference in the country all year, and the Pac-12 has also been very competitive. Matter of fact, we actually agree on something coming up within the hour in regards to Pac-12 teams and some of their possible shocker abilities in this tournament. So yeah, I mean, I don't look forward to it. I would not ever say no chance, but it's going to be tough for them to get a win, and you got to hope for the luck of the draw. And in the past, Michigan State really hasn't had that in the tournament.
All right, we're going to get into Michigan and the update for the Big Ten tournament and what's going on with them and their matchup against Maryland tomorrow in just a second. But first, a message from our great friends at Screwball.
Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. A refreshingly unique taste on the world's most classic spirit. It goes down smooth with a perfectly blended finish. anything but ordinary, and always lives up to the name. Sure, it sips a little different, and that's just who we are.
Peanut butter.
Screwball Whiskey, the original peanut butter whiskey.
Yeah, Lawton, on a recent birthday party, I believe you were at it for yourself in Grand Rapids. I think that there were 3 bottles of Screwball drank just by you. Is that a true statement?
It's definitely not a true statement. But it is good. It is good stuff. Drink responsibly, please.
I have that. Actually, I have the picture.
Yeah.
It's a great picture of the of Sir Lawrence. That is actually Screwball. It really is. I'm not making that up.
It is. That was the first time I ever tried it. I remember thinking to myself, wow, that's pretty good. It tastes like peanut butter. So good stuff.
Look at that crew. I believe, isn't that Hugo Chavez? It's part of that crew.
That's a good crew. Yeah, it's part of the work crew right there. Good times.
And look, there's the young lyricist, your fine daughter. All right. And no, Sheila Ford Head, she's mad. All right, I digress. Let's take a look, if we may, at the live bracket for the Big Ten tournament. And I know, very sad for the Spartan fans, no playing tomorrow against the Wolverines. I would have loved to have seen that. But we do have Michigan and Maryland first up tomorrow at 11:30. Early start on this fine, March 12th Friday, which I must say, it is my sister's 40th birthday tomorrow. Big festival plan. My great friend Lawton Lutz has helped me put together a video for her. I probably should have said that because she might be watching. Don't listen. Close your ears. But happy birthday to Emily. I can't believe she's going to be 40. It's nuts. But let's take a look at where we're at with the Big Ten tournament right now, and what could have been. Obviously, is a Michigan State rematch for the third time in a week, something like that. And then you look at we got Rutgers, Indiana going on right now. I believe there was an early lead for Rutgers in that one. Later tonight, we've got Wisconsin, Penn State. They will feed in to the matchup with Iowa, and of course Illinois, the 2 seed there. So, Lawton, let's talk about the Wolverines. Not a great performance, and obviously the injury to Eli Brooks on Sunday. We watched that game together. You were very emotional. You were jumping up and down and doing cartwheels. And then all the Michigan fans started making excuses. I'm like, I wasn't one of them. But let's talk about this. Michigan winning this Big Ten tournament. And obviously, they don't have to win the Big Ten tournament, but I want them to. And the Wolverines' chances now is they're going to be a 1 seed. Even if they lose tomorrow, I still believe they'll be a 1 seed. I know that the Buckeyes are creeping up, but I think Michigan's going to beat Maryland. They're 8.5-point favorites. I think the Wolverines are going to recapture the magic they've had for 95+% of the season. They had one bad game. They got a bunch of time off. They can regroup. They play a Maryland team that just beat the team that beat them last up. So there's all this kind of, excitement about getting back out there for a team that lost a rough game the last time out to a hungry team in Michigan State. I think Michigan's going to get to, in minimum, the title game of the Big Ten tournament. I'm not scared of Purdue or Ohio State. I think it's going to be a Michigan-Illinois or a Michigan-Iowa championship game on Sunday, right before Selection Sunday. How do you see from the other camp and the other side, because you're very fair on both sides, like I mentioned, how do you see the Wolverines in the Big Ten tournament? And then we'll kind of step it forward and what their chances are to win it all and cut down the nets.
I like Michigan in that game. I'm sure Hunter Dickinson will bring some of that chip.
Hunter Gatherer.
I think he'll bring some of that Maryland chip on the shoulder with him, and he'll have some motivation in that game. I got, as far as the Final Four, I like Michigan against Ohio State, and I like Iowa, Illinois. I don't think there's any surprises. I agree with you. Illinois, Michigan in the final. It's going to be a battle, and if Coburn can take care of the middle, then I think Illinois has got a good chance to beat Michigan. If they lock him down, it's the other way around. So I think regardless, Michigan's going to get a chance to play quite a few really good teams toward the end of this tournament. It's going to have them prep for the NCAA tournament, and they'll be ready to go.
No, I think that you make a lot of fair points there. When you look at, let's go back to Joe Lenardi and where he's at with his. And this obviously is changing up to the second throw. I mean, Fleece Fowl and take a look at his stuff because he does a great job. At Michigan, he has, you remember this year, there's no East, West, Midwest, and South, just regions 1 through 4. He's got him in region 3, and the 2 seed in that region would be a team like Houston that is going to be very, very tough to beat no matter who they play in this tournament. Teams like Wisconsin, UCLA, Colorado's a 5, Florida, Virginia Tech, who plays later tonight, the Hokies against UNC. So, I mean, we'll see what kind of region Michigan is put into. If they win the Big Ten tournament, I think they're right back to probably the second overall seed behind Gonzaga. But, Baylor could win the Big 12. You got Illinois that could win the Big 10. Michigan could be as high, I believe, as the 2 seed, the overall 2 number 1 seed, or as low as the 4. So I don't think it really matters. It's all based on matchups and how the teams are playing, but we will see what happens with the Wolverines going forward. I'm excited, Lawton, to see what they do coming up tomorrow, because you always want to see what a team's test of mettle is, where they lose a rough game to a rival that obviously needed that game more than anything. They didn't look good until the end. Michigan still almost won the game, and they played terrible. And Eli Brooks' injury, we'll see what ends up going on with that. But still, you mentioned Dickinson and Livers and Onions and all. They're just, they're just such a good team, and they're so well coached. Juwan Howard, by the way, Coach of the Year. Dickinson, Freshman of the Year, first teamer. Aaron Henry, by the way, the one Spartan on the awards list. He was it second team all defensive team, I believe. Aaron Henry was. So we got some Sparty love as well. But I think this is going to be a very important game to see how Michigan reacts to that loss. They've got a ton of synergy. They've had it all year. And I think that losses like that bring teams together. So let's see what they do tomorrow against Maryland, and then hopefully get, maybe to a title game appearance against Illinois. And then, of course, the tournament starts next Thursday or Friday for them as a 1 seed. Now, listen, part of March Madness is the upsets. And we saw, as you mentioned in the video, we started the show. It doesn't get any better. I think that, listen, Lawton, I love opening day. I love, the Sunday at Augusta. I love the Olympics. There's that's 14 days. But I don't think there's 2 better days in sports than Thursday or Friday of the NCAA tournament. It's just so much fun. There's so much drama. It's wall-to-wall games from basically noon until 1 in the morning. It's nonstop. You don't have to go to – I love going to sports bars when it's a pandemic. You don't have to go to the sports bar anymore because they're on True TV and TNT, so you can watch all the games. You don't have to have a special package. It's just the best, and I can't wait until that happens. But, Lawton, it's all about those bracket busters. And I want to start with you. We have each have identified 3 teams that we think could bust people's brackets. You want to pay attention to this because Lawton and I are top-level guys when it comes to March Madness. Who are your bracket busters, my friend?
Well, my first team is Belmont. So you see it on the screen there. Belmont is one of those teams. They shoot a lot of threes. They're number 3 in the country as far as attempts. They're number 6 in makes. And listen, they're also number 6 in assist turnover ratio, which means they share the ball well and they don't turn it over. So this is a team I could see getting hot and definitely busting someone's bracket. Again, only need to win 1 game to bust somebody's bracket, right? So Belmont is one of my favorite teams in the tournament. LSU.
Look at you, by the way, dropping the knowledge. Assist to turnover ratio numbers, pace numbers. I'm very impressed.
Listen, if you get hot, listen, we know how teams that shoot threes get hot and then you don't turn the ball over. I mean, that could be a nightmare for someone like a Michigan or an Illinois who's coming in and just getting absolutely bombarded with 15 threes. So Belmont is a team that can do that. LSU is another team that I feel could be a bracket buster. Not impressed by their record at all, but they got this kid Cameron Thomas he's actually number 4 in the country in scoring. So he's averaging 23 points a game. More importantly, he's shooting 40% and 90% from the line. So here's a guy that can go get you buckets. You certainly don't want to foul him in a close game. Another team that could be a bracket buster, the LSU Fighting Tigers, right? And then finally, USC.
Yeah, by the way, just really quick, Lawton, just people want to take a look. LSU projected to be an 8 seed right now. And you mentioned Belmont with some great numbers. Belmont has had, I think they won their tournament and their conference 3 of 4 years. I believe that's what it is. And Belmont is a team that obviously has that experience that can, that has done it before. They had a big win, I think it was a couple years ago. So take a look at them as well. Go ahead for your final one.
And my final honorable mention is USC. And it's really an eye test thing. They just look like a different team since Kevin O'Neal was fired. And then they've had noble wins in the Pac-12. We talked about this, Danny, about how they're a tough conference too. Noble wins against Arizona, UCLA, and ASU. So I like those 3 as, like I said, bracket busters. And when we're talking about bracket busters, remember, these aren't Final Four teams. These are teams that are just going to bust your bracket up, and all they got to do is win 1 game to do that, whether it's in the second round or the Sweet 16.
All right, great stuff by you. We'll get to mine in just 1 second, but first, another quick word from our great friends at Screwball.
Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. A refreshingly unique taste on the world's most classic spirit. Anything but ordinary, and always lives up to the name. Screwball Whiskey, the original peanut butter whiskey.
All right, Lawton. For me, and you mentioned that we have some things in agreement as far as the Pac-12. It's funny. The Pac-12 is a conference for the last several years. I mean, you go back to like Jim Herrick's cheating days. Remember when his son was like teaching a course, giving everyone 100% on their grades? You know, you had UCLA, you had Washington, you had some teams that were really good, that were 1 seeds, 2 seeds, 3 seeds. The Pac-12 as a conference is kind of garbage. But that being said, they've got teams that are good enough to make runs. Like when you look top to bottom compared to like a Big 10 or a Big 12, not even close when you look at the RPI ratings. When you look at teams like, you know, you mentioned obviously USC, and you look at a team like Colorado, they're all kind of fit right into the 6 seed spot. And I'm going to start with Oregon. And I look at this Oregon team who I've watched several times this year. I mean, you know me, I never sleep. I'm up late being a degenerate betting West Coast games. They've got an incredible pace to them. They're so well coached. They don't turn the ball over much. They shoot the 3 well. They can smother you on defense. And just to get back to the brackets again from our man Joe Lenardi, as I mentioned, you look at teams like USC, they're kind of slated right now to be a 6. Oregon slated to be a 6. Colorado slated to be a 5 or a 6. So that's right in that range where they'll play a team like a Louisville or a Michigan State or a VCU or a Winthrop or a Wichita State, and they, I think, match up great against those kind of teams, especially a mid-major. So I look for a team like Oregon to really have a chance. I mean, the Pac-12 is a very up and down type of conference, but I just think that Oregon can really make a move to the tournament. Now, how about, I mentioned UConn earlier in the show. I remember the year they won with Kemba Walker. They were like at 1.88 in the Big 12. They were kind of off the radar, and they just ran through that tournament led by Kemba Walker. Well, they don't necessarily have a Kemba Walker, but they got James Bouknight. And when he suits up, he had some injuries throughout the year. They're 10-2 with him, Dan Hurley's squad. They're 14-6. They've won 4 straight. And, you know, they're 5-1 since he came back with several, like, really convincing wins and just had 1 loss at Villanova. So I look at a team like UConn, probably slated to be around a 4 seed. That's a team I'm looking at. And then Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's a very interesting team because think about, Cincy and Kenyon Martin. I know that Kenyon Martin got hurt and kind of screwed that whole bracket up, but he was the best player in college basketball. Cade Cunningham is the best player in college basketball, bar none. OK State's going to probably be around. They just beat they won their game last night against West Virginia barely at the end. They're going to be a 3, 4, or 5 seed, depending on what they do in the rest of the Big 12 tournament. But Cade Cunningham can take over games, score 20-plus, a la different position, but Kemba Walker. So I look at Cade Cunningham and OK State as having a real chance to run through this tournament. So those are my bracket busters. Once again, we got Oregon, UConn, and Oklahoma State. Lawton goes with Belmont, LSU, and USC. Here is Danny Martin weighing in with his Bama, West Virginia, and Oregon. Now, see, can we call – I guess I'm not going to say you can't. West Virginia, I believe, could be as high as a 2 seed if they – they lost they lost yesterday, so they're not going to be a 2. But, yeah, I guess anything 3 or below would be a bracket buster, right? You can't say Michigan's going to be a bracket buster or Gonzaga. But I like it. I like Danny's Oregon pick for sure. Bama is a very interesting team. They play really good defense, but a lot of times they have trouble scoring. But West Virginia, maybe that loss is going to do good for them to get them ready for the tournament. But, Lawton, it's going to just be so phenomenal after not having the tournament last year. Remember how we were praying and hoping, and I know that they kept talking to the NCAA, Kevin White kept talking about trying to do whatever they can to play in front of no fans and at least have a tournament in the billions of dollars. And I remember I talked to a good friend of mine who coaches the D1 program, and he told me that, if for some reason they didn't have the NCAA tournament this year, 100 teams might have to fold in Division 1A. And last year you mentioned how much money teams lost and how tough it was for the mid-majors and stuff. Thank God it's back. It's going to be so much fun. I know you and I are going to watch a lot of games together. I wanted to go cover the tournament, but unfortunately, at 97 wasn't taking me with travel restriction right now, and that's fine. More time to spend with you and watch all the games. But we're less than 3 days away from Selection Sunday, and then, of course, the first 4 games on Tuesday and Wednesday. I can't wait, my friend. I can't wait.
Absolutely. I have a good question for you, too. If obviously Michigan's your pick, but if not Michigan, let's say Michigan does get upset, who do you like besides Michigan to go all the way and be the last team standing?
Did I lose the volume there again? What? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me? You can hear me?
I can hear you.
Can't hear you. Pipe and drape. Well, listen, either way, you killed it. We will see you throughout the tournament. We're going to do a lot of special shows. Once again, for our bracket busters, if you missed it, Lawton goes with Belmont, LSU, and USC. I go with Oregon, Uconn, and Oklahoma State. I want to thank the king of the pipe and drapes. Doesn't get any better than him. I'm Dan Leach, the Squatch. Thanks to our great friends at Screwball. We'll see you throughout the tournament. Don't forget, wash your hands, wear a mask, spread love, not hate. Happy birthday, Emily, 40 years young. Until next time, for the great Lawton Luntz, I'm Dan Leach, the Squatch, saying so long. Believe in the pipe and drape. Believe in the dream.